Hello there team, and welcome to something very different today. This is just a grassy plains free-for-all, but not free-for-all, 4v4, but with a twist. So first things first, I've got two cats in my room, and I suspect, well, they're both sleeping right now. They may sleep through, but I highly doubt that. So we'll see. Anyway, this is a commander battle style situation. So a few people who follow a lot of other Total War content creators. I can't remember who it is. I'm pretty sure it's Milk and Grease Total War that I see a lot of it on, but I don't want to say that for certain because it's probably not. But he often does these commander style battles. Now, what do I mean when I say commander style battle? A standard 4v4. Everybody is taking whatever they want, whatever sort of army composition that they feel is best for that situation. And we usually, in Reforged anyway, we usually stick to about 13k for said army. But it was Son of Gimli, who was sort of pointing this out. You know, we'd really like to try this, and I thought, yeah, I've seen some of these videos. I really want to check out to see how it'll go. But in a commander style battle, you are meant to work together as one whole army. Instead of having every complement or a nice balance of every unit type within your army just for yourself, you are meant to only focus in on one thing. So for my army here, let's go to 0.8 to make sure I can get through everything, or 0.6. I've gone for Numenor, and I am taking the infantry off our army, alongside Gimli, Son of Gimli, who is also taking the infantry focus. And then over here we have Khand, played by Ellipsis, and he is going to be taking our cavalry today. And Lothlorien over there, played by Gilgalad, he is our archer component. So I've got, as I say, all of the infantry. I've got no archers, no javelin throwers, and no cavalry. I've got my Numenorian shield guard, Numenorian cohort, and my Royal Legion of Armenelos. Then two Belagar footmen, of course, armor upgraded for them. Sentinels there, some pikes again, armor upgrade, and Numenorian cohort, and some Farazim Swordmasters. So it's quite fun for me because I don't usually take the Farazim Swordmasters. I can't afford them and put them into my army. But we were each given about 10k for this. So we did have a lot of spare money that we could use to grab a few extra things. Angmar here has gone for a lot more numbers because, of course, I've not got many. So he's got his Angmar Marauders and his pike lines, so he can stretch his pike lines out a lot longer than I can. Then behind him, he's got his Gundabad Guard and Guardians of Carndum and Angmar Halberds and such. Then over here, we've got, actually, let's go up to normal speed, because what we do at the start, we've got a grace period as we come together. So Ellipsis here, as I say, is all cavalry. He's got his Variags of Khand, Nurad Retainers there, Windblades, Brotherhood of the Lance, Windriders of Khand, Variag Horse Archers there, Brotherhood of the Bow, and Chieftain's Vanguard there. So as I say, all cavalry, definitely pretty heavy on the micro. Hopefully he's going to be able to get the job done. Then Gilgalad here, he's got his March Wardens, Kindred of Celeborn, Watchers of the Golden Wood, some Kirin Amroth Rangers, two of those guys, Woodland Protectors, as we say, Javelins. We had a discussion about this. Were Javelins in infantry or were they in archers? But the archers were really struggling to fill out their roster and spend their 10k, so we thought, yeah, no, they're definitely archers. Lornland Archers there, and March Wardens of the Wood. But, you know, they are classed as missile units on the card. The opposing sides today, we've got Mirkwood taking up the enemy's archer component. So we've got two elves on the field. He's played by Elamau, so he's got his Woodland Realm Patrol, his Hiri Peng there, double Hiri Peng, double Woodland Realm Patrol, Wardens of Amon Lank, Elders of the Elven King, Woodland Protectors. So I always love when you've got these sort of dual units on both sides. And Corrigan there, he's got Rhudaur as the infantry component of Rhudaur. So that's very much how I like to play Rhudaur. Lots of the wild men and lots of Dunman pikes, as we can see, or Dunman pikes. Swordsmen there, some Dunman spears, and enslavers too, double Blackwolds and Herenidane pikes in the back. Yep, and so he's merging in together. The cavalry of our enemy is led by Rohan, whereas it's Rohan, led by Duran here. So he's got his horse archers, Riders of the Fold. Yep. And then Airred of Aldberg, first Marshal's Bodyguard there, Red Shields of Erkenbrand, and double more here, Skirmishers and Skirmishers. Rhudaur, that is. Then the final enemy is Narcissus here. He's got the hordes of the Misty Mountains. So he's got his Cave Troll Drummers. Oh, sorry, Sons of Ael there too. Heavy Goblin Infantry. Standard Gobbles. An armor upgrade on these Gobbles? No armor upgrade for them. Some Spears. Goblin Infantry, more Spears, more Infantry. Goblin Infantry, Spears, Halberds. And Bodyguard, Halberds. Black Orcs the Mountain, and Mountain Uruk Host 2. No White Uruk Fearmongers. Interesting. So yeah, it's going to be... So the first thing that is very obvious here, Rohan is of course much more of a lancing focused cavalry. I'm going to move my microphone so you're going to hear a pretty nasty noise. This is actually the first battle I've done for a really, really long time, or the first video I've made for a really, really long time where I'm sitting down. And I'm regretting it. There's a lot of squeaking from my chair, but I'm not going to stop recording to pull my table up and stand up. I'm going to just start sitting down. Let's finish sitting down. Anyway, so Rohan is of course much more lance focused, whereas Khand is much more is much more melee cavalry focused. They both of course can do different things, but I do find that that's an interesting difference when it comes to them. Once again, there's no glory hunters from Khand, which is too bad. I want to see those guys in action. I've played around with them a little bit myself, but yeah. And in addition to that, Rhudaur can bring some decent melee infantry to the field, but nothing really to compare with as I say, Numenor's main line. My standard infantrymen are as good as his top tier boys, and Misty Mountains, I know the Mountain Uruk Host, to be honest, are pretty damn good, but still, that's just more fodder. So we've kind of got a swarm army in the form of Angmar. They've got a swarm army in form of the Misty Mountains, but they've got another sort of heavy numbers army with Rhudaur. So I was looking at this and I was worried because I knew that we were going to be getting swarmed around. And you can see by the way that we've formed up, this was a very entertaining and very interesting thing, because I don't like to do this. I don't like to form up inside of other people's formations, but you have to do that with this sort of battle. So I've got most of my Numenorians behind the Orcish defenders there, but out front I've got the Belagar footmen. They are the first wave, and protecting the March Wardens there, with Ellipsis taking the cavalry on the flanks. And yeah, so this battle is going to just be out when it's out. It's not going to be part of the general schedule, so don't worry about that. It's just, yeah, this is not going to be one of the 2 videos that I put out a week, but I just want to put this one out quite nice and early because I really enjoyed this, and I want to do this sort of battle again. Something that I really do want to do as well, though, is do it with just everybody's the same faction. So since this was just a test, we didn't want to put too many rules on it. We wanted to be as free as possible. I think we are going to go to 1 speed, because we are actually properly kicking off now as the Wind Riders and charge on forward. But the Wind Riders actually don't have a shield, so up against these horse archers, that's going to be painful if they get much fire into them. But yeah, anyway, oh gosh, let's shift the mic again and maybe try to lean back or something. I don't know, something to make myself a little bit more comfortable here. I don't know, I've gotten so used to standing up that this is just strange to me. But yeah, no, so those Wind Riders have fallen on back. But I want to do it where, say, everybody on one side is all Arthedain. So one person is all of the ranged units from our... You aren't going to be able to do that with every faction, of course. Like, imagine trying to pull that off with Angmar. You know, like, oh yeah, I'll be the ranged component of Angmar. But I think we can definitely, you know, do stuff with that. And this was with a 10k each. And maybe... even having slightly less money could work, because this is a lot of boys on the field. And but yeah, I just really liked how this went, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to put a video out just show that like this is something we can do, and hopefully somebody will watch this. I'll probably post a in the description there will be a link to a Warhammer Total War Commander battle in which another YouTuber, as I say, I'm not certain who it is, will explain this idea a lot better, and hopefully you can get a good idea of what we're trying to achieve with this. So, Son of Gimli's got a pretty naff situation here. As I say, he is kind of our fodder infantry. Even though these Angmar halberds are very useful, he is the guy that's going to have to stand out front so that my Numenorians don't take much of this elven fire. But the faster walking animation of the halberds has really had these halberds move out front a bit too quickly, and their defenders, the Snaga, that would normally be the shields in front of them but are to protect them from archer fire, have not been able to catch up. So I scattered my Belegar footmen back to try and protect them, stretch them out along the line. You know, as I say, with that armor upgrade and those shields, we can take a good bit of fire. But the Snaga are running on up. But still, that was a few losses there. And definitely these Witch Realm pikes are very important to us. They're actually quite a damn good quality. And they've not received the armor upgrade today, so they are not going to be loving this high damage fire from the elven archers of the Woodland Realm. But overall, yeah, he sets his Snaga up. But it's always tough when you're in this sort of formation. You've got to get the infantry running sometimes. And, you know, I don't know why the spearmen, sorry, not spearmen, the phalanx units have a slightly faster walking animation. But I think it's probably just so that you don't have to take them out of shield wall all the time. You know that they're going to be a little bit faster than normal, but that's just what I presume. Oh, poor Wind Riders. Sorry, these were the Nurad Retainers, slightly beefier. I don't know if their armor is much better, but they do have that shield, so that helps them out. But of course, when you're running away from the enemy, that's not going to matter. So Corrigan's come out with his Dunman spears, just to sort of tease us a bit. Of course, these guys will, being spearmen, being lower quality spears, you can get a good Lancer charge off on them. But this is the way that... Is it Corrigan that usually plays like this, or am I confused? Yeah, it's usually... So Corrigan loves to have, like, a unit of lower quality fodder out front of his army. And it's not a case of like, hey, yeah, you know, this fodder is going to hold back your charge and beat you. No, it's a case of he's wanting to tempt you into attacking that fodder, which is exactly what Ellipsis tried to do there. He tried to come in for a quick charge against the Dunman spears, but the archers then do the damage. And they, you know, so it doesn't really matter if you get a successful charge against our fodder. You know, sure, you've killed, 30 Dunman spears in that charge. We've killed off 20 of your horsemen with our archer volleys against you. So that's something to be very careful of. When you see a great charging opportunity on something like Barrow Wights, say, there might be 4 units there might be goblin trackers and Snaga archers just waiting there to get a close range shot of massed arrow fire. Of course, it's so low damage, those archers, but you have to keep in mind there's 200 bloomin' little gobos in this force, so it's not easy. But still. So now that the Snaga are there, I'm able to free up my Belegar footmen soon. But Gil-galad is coming on up with his March Wardens. Now the issue is, I was quite interested to sort of see how this battle would go. But the March Wardens are really kind of losing this duel with the Woodland Realm Patrol. Of course, elven archers, you know, they're lacking the shield and the heavy armor that human archers do. When they enter into these skirmish fights, they really are relying on their killing power to win skirmish fights. And when you've got two, you know, elven archers firing away at each other, I find that it comes down to just who gets off the first few volleys. And the Woodland Realm Patrol, because they've kind of got they've got a much wider formation. As I say, this is something that's really beneficial because Corrigan has taken a more full army than I have. He is able to really spread out, whereas I can't. I've kind of got to stick behind Angmar and work within Angmar, which means that the enemy have got a lot more territory. You can see from the mini-map, you know. I know we've got our wings extended out, but that's just cavalry, whereas their formation is much more just solid infantry. And because they've got that infantry dominance there, they feel a lot more free to use their archers and have their archers sort of sitting out. And yeah, like Gil-galad's taken quite a bit of a beating to his archers. But I've got sturdy armor. I don't really mind taking a few volleys on the approach, but still, we didn't want to jump at anything just yet. We lost that initial archer duel, but that doesn't, you know, we're 1% down. Sometimes if you can get hung up on like, oh shit, I've lost the archer gain, you know, I've got to charge wildly, you know, and it's like, no, just pause, take a second to actually properly evaluate the situation, and that's what we're trying to do here. So Narcissus is coming forward alongside a large portion of Duran's cavalry, a very large portion of Duran's cavalry, and they are looking like they are wanting to have some action with Ellipsis. Now the issue is Ellipsis still has, because we've got this thin formation, Ellipsis kind of needs to be an extended left flank. But that means that, and of course the enemies do not have that. They don't have that need. So Duran can focus on just carrying every one of his cavalry units around the map at one time, whereas Ellipsis can't. So Ellipsis is a little bit outnumbered there. He's moving some cavalry over. I'm shifting over some of my units onto the left flank to try and back up the Watchers of the Golden Wood, and if they come forward with an infantry charge into our right flank, I can meet that. I want to fight them in melee. I just don't want to fight them out in an open area where that cavalry is going to be a pain in the ass. So definitely one thing that I'm looking for these, because I want to organize. I very lightly brushed the bottom of my mic. Hopefully that didn't come through too clearly. That's another thing about being about standing up. I've got a lot more room to kind of just wave my arms around when I talk, and I can't really do that here. I'm a lot more sort of cramped in. But yeah, one thing I'd love to, one, just general advice about these sorts of battles. If anybody can think of a way, like, watch the full battle first, please, and then you know, think about like, okay, yeah, here's how I would have done it. Here's some changes I would have made, you know, please, because you know we didn't know what we were doing here. And then in addition to that, I want maps, because I don't really like the grassy plains. I don't find it too interesting to play on, but we need maps that this sort of thing could work with. So quite open, but preferably not this open. You know, I'm needing some advice for just generally, you know, what are some maps that this could work with, and yeah, I mean, there's stuff like, you know, you know, the Vale of Anduin and stuff like that, you know, like Anduin, I think the map's called, and Anfalas and all this stuff that is pretty much, and the Shire, that is just an open out area, and I think that those would be fine. But is there, you know, are there any kind of interesting ones that could still work for these very large formations? And of course, we don't have to be sat in this sort of formation. We were quite concerned and careful. So, as outnumbered as the poor Riders of Khand were there, their focus on melee cavalry is carrying them through these engagements, even with a good charge from the Aered and the Sons of Ale. You know, just the general focus is carrying them through. But we were outnumbered there. There were lots of goblin spears, so Ellipsis has decided to fall back. You know, because, as I say, the great coordination from Duran and Narcissus here, as they're just advancing carefully alongside each other, whereas Ellipsis was fighting by himself out there. Now, perhaps I should have had my Numenorian Shield Guard, I think they're called. I'm not certain. Spearman? Shield Guard, yep, they're Shield Guard. I could have had them out there, you know, that would have definitely turned the tide, but no, I didn't. I wanted to keep a bit safer. But yeah, Belegar Footmen, happily, you know, I'm happy to let them take a bit of fire. They have done, luckily, but not too much. Wind Riders coming all the way around the flank. As this is the issue, of course, Duran's got all of his cavalry over there. That's left, you know, the Ellipsis the ability to just come around the flank. Like, this is nothing. Now, the issue is, you know, there's lots of, these are not dedicated charging units. They can get off a good charge, but what, you know, oh yeah, Dunman Pikes popped up, and then I can't remember who it was, but one of our teammates was like spamming the, you know, attack here, attack here, attack here arrows, because obviously like they popped up out of nowhere. I really love that about the Dunman Pikes. You can get them into spread formation, and they hide, and of course Corrigan knows a lot about hiding. But yeah, there's a talent to the way that he plays, you know, that cannot be denied, memes aside. But yeah, then Skirmishers coming on forward here. Of course, they've got a good anti-cavalry focus. Massive axes for the AP smashes into these guys too. So you know, AP with both their javelins and their range. And now I say that like we came across this like we won here, but that's not necessarily true. There are lots of Candish Cavaliers dead in amongst those corpses. Watchers of the Golden Wood coming out quite far forward. This was an awesome little archer duel. Yeah, the Watchers of the Golden Wood going toe-to-toe with the Elders of the Elven King. But this, as I say, just it seems to be the case. The Watchers the Elders just got off those first few volleys up against the Watchers of the Golden Wood, and that's just carrying them through. And of course, that high mass ammunition, you know, it's the firing animation of these Watchers. And are we throwing around these guys too? Yeah, we are. So they're both throwing around each other, and they're interrupting the firing animation. So, damn, it's weird. Like, yeah, but it really is the clash of the titans. But once again, we realized quite quickly, this is not really working out too well for us. You know, so this was the second archer clash that Mirkwood has come out on top. And we were getting a bit, we were getting a little bit nervous, even though we pulled that percentage point back. Oh gosh, there's a blue mark right in the middle here. Ah, good. So yeah, he came. Oh yeah, I saw that. This was actually. Oh, there were some White Orc Fearmongers. I didn't spot these guys. Sorry. They did actually pull off quite a nice little charge. Very risky, and he's taken losses for it. Perhaps not a target I would have taken, but you know, you can't deny it. Like, look, a lot of dead Fearmongers there. You know, it's pretty good. So we felt okay with it. You know, it is what it is. And he's pulling back on out. But all the while, you know, these Watchers there, they can get a knife throw. There's lots of pikes popping up out of nowhere again from Corrigan. You know, we have no idea where these blooming wild men are hiding here. So it's quite a nuisance. I think Corrigan's got his lines quite well protected. So we can't really jump in amongst them. Over here, Orc Fellers. Yeah, this was very noble of Son of Gimli. Like, it was clear the Watchers were just taking a beating there. So the Orc Fellers sprinted forward and just sacrificed their lives just to get the Watchers of the Golden Wood out of there. So, you know, who says orcs are not, you know, grand and noble creatures? You know, they are definitely capable of great sacrifice. But yeah, the Elders, the Elven King, showing their worth there. They've taken losses for it, though. Actually, have they? Those aren't Elders. I think the Elders are doing not too bad. A few of them very bloodied up from that fight, though. But yeah, this is it. It definitely is going to go like a bit of a tournament game. You know, as I say, we're almost at 30,000 frames for the full battle. You know, which is of course a lot longer than you'd expect from a normal 4v4. But that's kind of, you know, these battles are meant to be a bit longer. They're meant to be a lot more coordinated. I would absolutely love to do this with some guys in the Discord. You know, and because this was something we were having a lot of trouble chatting, like over the text chat, and of course, but our enemies were doing the same. But this is definitely a situation where communication is going to be key, and if one side is talking to each other and the other isn't, this could be curtains. But either way, the cavalry of Duran start moving back, and this is where I'm starting to say to the team, like, we need to go. Like, we've lost both little archer duels. You know, up front, we don't really have the archer capacity to go toe-to-toe with these guys. So while the cavalry's over there, and they're not able to support the main line, we need to move forward. The problem was, Ellipsis was AFK. Now, he did say that. He didn't just disappear. He did mention, sorry guys, I've gotta go for a minute. So we were like, this is the perfect, you know, well, we could charge now, but you know, we would have to do it without our cavalry support. So we just had to sit back, which was a bit of a nuisance as the Woodland Realm Patrol advanced forward to start raining hell once again into our main lines. And even into these archers too, really just wanting to get that archer dominance. And that percentage, we're only, again, 1% down. It's not a big deal. But these early stage engagements, you know, 17,000 frames, yeah, still early stage engagements. But yeah, as I say, these a lot of these moves, great woodland protectors are standing right there. So if we did get comfortable, we did want to come in for a charge against Ailemal's archers there, we just get minced. Now this was a big issue, protecting your archers, you know, because you know, that's not easy. Now we are, I'll talk about some changes that we think we'll do for the next one in the next battle. Oh yeah, of course. So unfortunately, as you can see, missed the side of the screen for a minute, but these poor Wind Riders were set upon by the Sons of Aer and have been massacred there. These knights just getting a charge into the fight, but then also being, having an anti-cavalry bonus is more than enough to wreck shop. And we were a bit worried, still taking fire from the front. And, messaging back and forth, we need to move. We cannot just sit here and let their archers get closer and closer. So I think Gilgalad's bringing these men forward, Woodland Protectors and the Watchers. Everything is starting to focus forward, and we will lurch on in a moment. We were hoping, because we didn't want to have this fight amongst their stakes, but I think it was Gilgalad that mentioned, if we actually just come rushing on forward and we can get through their stakes, we can have the enemy's stakes behind us, so that even if we don't have cavalry support, the enemy can't be coming in with these Rohan charges, these glorious Rohan charges into our backs over and over again, because we will have pushed through their stakes. Now that means that when we come in, we need to come in very, very hard, but that's Numenor's thing, and that's Angmar's thing, most certainly. These very rushed assaults that we could use just gain ground. There's also the discussion in the start of Son of Gimli was like, should I bring Barrow-wights? But we really felt that lowered our mobility. Barrow-wights, I adore Barrow-wights. I think they're an amazing unit. They're so fun to use, but they are limiting, and they should be limiting. I don't think anything about. I think Barrow-wights are cool, but you cannot use them for these assaults like this. It's just they change the focus of your army entirely. But yeah, so as I say, I'm trying to look at this unit, but no, it's just a mound of corpses. It's not a unit. But yeah, so Duran is still over here on the left flank. He's not, he is so concentrated there, which means he's so powerful. But it does also mean that Rhudaur here is going to be without cavalry support, which is a very good thing for us. And something as well. Duran's really gone heavy into the horse archers, and I was hoping that would be somewhere that we were dominant, being Khan, of course. But Rohan can go heavy in there, as we see. They've got a lot of them, and of course they've got the Red Shields of Erkenbrand, who are incredible. But yeah, so this was the Hiri Peng. Ailamal had sort of realised at this point that we were stuffed. There was nothing we could really do here in an archer duel. So he's actually advanced forward with the real killers, the Hiri Peng here, and started raining crap into the Nurad retainers. And I'm trying to come forward to shield them, but it's just putting on a band-aid. And I think we made it clear at this point, yeah, we need to move. And so the Stag of Stalkers, he's not making the same mistake as before. He's getting his fodder up forward to try and take that arrow fire, but you can't let them get too far ahead. But yeah, so they're going to be lunging on up, and I am coming on in after him. I'm giving sort of my orders now to everybody to just advance, and my focus is going to be on the left flank. I'm very comfortable with the idea of Angmar's pike line and Angmar's infantry, even the Angmar marauders. They can do all right in a fight up against the Orcs in the Misty Mountains, but as I say, that high attack damage of the Rhudaur swordsmen, I was a bit worried about how that was going to get through units like the Angmar marauders, and of course, Lord forbid, the poor Snag of Stalkers. So I wanted to focus on Rhudaur myself, and leave Son of Gimli to try and mince the Misty Mountains. And hey, selfishly, it also means that Son of Gimli is in the way of the cavalry. But hey, a Numenorian has to protect what he's got. So we were very upset about this. They were, as they should have, they responded to our infantry advance by moving forward the infantry of their own, which meant that we could not claim this stake line. We were really hoping that Corrigan's legendary passive nature was gonna doom him here, but it is not. He's coming at us. But still, Angmar Marauders, yeah, we can see the Angmar Marauders are about to go toe-to-toe with the Rhudaur swordsmen. Let me just, oh god, maybe I should try and do something fancy for this. I don't know. Doof. You can see how much I care about thumbnails. But yeah, they matter. I just really don't have the patience for them. But yeah, Numenorian cohort, they're slicing through this fodder, and then the Rhudaur swordsmen are coming at me. Now, I'm vastly outnumbered, but I'm very armored, I'm really nicely skilled, and also, I've got a good attack damage. You know, I am, of course, the best that humanity can be. So I've got no major issue there. But they're going to wear me down, and they're going to keep me in place. Let's zoom on in now. As we can see, the main lines clash. Angmar and Rhudaur is actually doing quite well there. That surprises me. I would have thought that... well, maybe my Farsome Swordmasters have something to do with it on this right flank of those Rhudaur swordsmen, but still, they should organise and do not too bad. Goblin band coming into melee. I'd really prefer them to stay out of the melee, but I guess he just needs the numbers. I'd prefer them to stay out and watch out for any cavalry advancement. But we've got the pikes that are still there if we need them. Goblin infantry there, getting ready to fight the Snaga Stalkers, the real battle of the Titans. You know, we had the Watch of the Golden Wood going up against the Elders of the Elven King. You know, now we've got Snaga Stalkers going up against Goblin infantry. What more can you ask from a battle here? But yeah, Numenorian cohort there. I've got my Belegar pikes, trying to back up these poor Belegar footmen who have been entirely split in half by these Rhudaur swordsmen. And they're holding great, you know, they're doing their best, but they need to... Oh god, I should be moving these guys a bit faster. The Belegar pikes are trying to get in there in time, but the Numenorian cohort should fix the situation. They've gone back to shaken, so they're not going to rout. But all the while, as our infantry are charging on forward, we need to make sure our archers are safe. You know, Lothlorien has got access to the Proudfoot Protectors, the Woodland Protectors, but it's not enough to watch you out from a massive Rohan charge. So we need to be keeping these units safe. So I'm keeping my Numenorian Shield Guard around. If the Knights, you know, First Marshal's Bodyguard, they're not Knights, but they're amazing Lancers. Air Red even. So, you know, and we've got the Belegar Footmen here. I didn't send both of my units in. So it was a lot of fun to try and just protect Gil-galad's archers. You know, and not having any archers in the field your own. After, run, stop him. But yeah, the First Marshal Bodyguard is coming on around there. But yeah, still, the main line is actually going pretty well for us. And I think... You know, the Numenorian quality is doing all right up against the Rhudaur swordsmen. Actually, the balance is there. But where I've got my pikes on the field, it's going okay. But then we see the Herenidane pikes. And also the hidden pikemen from the back lines are coming on forward. Now, I think the main thing that is really sort of a benefit to me is I've got all of my elite units in the fight, whereas those Witchrum and Slavers are still holding back. But they provide a morale buffer to the units, who are already very, you know, solid in their morale. The Angmar halberds coming on forward now. Witch Realm pikes. Oh, yeah, so Belegar footmen there just trying to ward off the Ride of the Fold. I know they've got horse archers. I know they've got ammunition left, but it doesn't matter. Like, they can spend it on me. You know, I don't want them to be used as charging units, and I don't want them to open the floodgates to everything else. So I really try to... Let's maybe zoom out. Yeah, you can kind of get a good idea of what I'm trying to do here. Angmar halberds coming in on that flank. It's good that we've got the halberds on the flank, so even if they do come in with a charge, those halberds can turn around. I know they'll take a few backstabs when they do that, but they at least won't get cavalry charged. And I was quite happy, you know, because this is really where Corrigan's numbers could be coming into effect, but we've been able to kind of coat the line up very lightly, the Numenorian quality allowing me to do that. And Mountain Orc host coming in over here, little by little, but... Even though these archer units are damaged, because they have been shot to pieces by the Mirkwood forces, they've still got all that ammunition. So they're not going to be able to do damage very quickly, but they're still going to be able to do that same damage now that we've started this real clash. Oh, Goblin Band mixing it up. Well, let's maybe go to 0.8. The image is looking a bit funky. Halberds there forming a solid front line, but the Gundabad Guard might be able to slam their way through it. Just a view of these Angmar units breaking the lines there. Woodland Protectors got their ammunition, but they're struggling to find a shot. I think they're trying to go in for the Royal Legion or the Farsome Swordmasters. This is not something I like to do. This was just how it ended up turning out. My Royal Legion are mixing it up with my Swordmasters in the same spot. I usually like to have my elite units spread across the line. But it's not as important when you're playing as Numenor, as I say, the good quality of Numenor. So, yep, the Kindred are now coming on forward, and Gil-galad is getting some revenge now up against Ealamal's archers. Just sort of mincing through the fellow Wood Elves, I guess. I'm afraid there's no real lore aspect to this battle. There's nothing I could really think to explain it. But but I think it was still a pretty good battle all the same. Got my Belagar footmen on the right flank. I'd love to get them sort of around, start backstabbing or something of the sort, but I can't, because if they do, then that gives them a free passageway in there, whereas instead they've got to come around. They could come into the Lothlorien and archers, but then the protectors are there, the Watchers of the Golden Wood, and now Ellipsis is back, and he is coming forward with a passion. In the back, I've still got my shield guard sort of protecting the rear lines. Kindred there, but as I say, apart from that, the cavalry would have to come all the way around here. But now, Ellipsis, as I say, he's coming on forward. These rangers who have been rightly shot to pieces are still around with 8 of their men left, and 8 body-piercing arrows fired from elven rangers just coming into the right flank there could be just what we need. Right flank as well, they're not going to be protected by that heavy Rhudaur shield. They're just getting it minced. So I was very grateful for that support. And as I say, when you're only focusing on your archers, you're arguably able to, micromanage a lot more than normal. Good kindred fire up against Corrigan's pikes as they sort of pull away from the front line. I'd really be wanting to get them moved on forward, get them stuck in where they'll be protected by that. But you can see even the brave and powerful White Uruk fearmongers there are breaking from this Angmar swarm. The Blackwatch Legion are there too, so that heavy mass is not going to be easy to hold back, even for such a powerful halberdier as they are. But yeah, horse archers there just firing into our lines. There's nothing I can really do about it. If I charge forward with my footmen, I can chase them away, but then that opens up the gap to something. Now the issue is when you're spread out like this, a really heavy cavalry unit can just barrel their way through. Even a very sort of fast-moving cavalry unit can just sort of slip on by you, but I've got to take that risk. I can't cover all that ground if not. Woodland Protectors coming on forward, still got their javelins to be used. Kindred fire just ripping through the lines there into the Dunman pikes, as I say. Dunman pikes having... that's why they were pulled away, of course. Corrigan's having to protect the front line from these rear charges, and he's doing so quite well. All Ellipsis can really do is grab some routing units, make sure they don't come back. These halberds watching the backs too. Elders of the Elven King exposed though. Well, not totally exposed. The Woodland Protectors are there. And I would have loved, because yeah, look at this. Look how close I am. I would have loved to have grabbed these Belagar footmen and gotten them stuck into that fight, because we would have won that quite comfortably. But the problem is then it frees up all of this cav. But with Ellipsis here, he is piece by piece able to take apart this Rohan force. The Red Shields of Erkenbrand are coming on up now though, along with Riddermark Skirmishers are still in reserve. They've got their javelins still. I would be really tempted with those Riddermark Skirmishers to actually get some support and fire onto the main line. But yeah, Cohort trying to support the right flank. I didn't want to just concentrate all of my units on the left. And even these armor-piercing halberds off the Misty Mountains is nowhere near good enough for the to get through the heavy plate of Numenor. And get through the skill bonus of Numenor, of course. But yep, making some breaks now. The line is just too thin, and Corrigan's actually sending forward his rear guard of pikes to the main line now. And that will be... well, it'll provide a bit of stability, but not for too long. Heavy axe from the Wardens of Amon Lank into the... unarmoured March Wardens of the Wood, but no, still, they will mince through them. Hernidain pikes coming on up, but stabbed in the back and the side by these Numenorean cohort. That looks like a general. Oh yeah, the Elders of the Elven King. That was the Mirkwood general, of course. But Nurad Retainers not really having the best of charges, but they can do something, as you can see there. They killed off the general. They're damaging this Elder unit. So, do we still have Troll Drummers drumming away? We do, but the front line is so long that even their 100-meter morale buff is not going to be enough to keep the orcs here in line. And that is our... well, we've really sort of got it now. So as I say, it's not as close as I normally would like a 4v4 to be for me to do a battle on it, but I was talking to the guys and I really wanted this to be something I made a video on, just because it was quite an interesting concept. We'll go up to... what time are we on? Yeah, we'll go up to sort of 1.4, just to make sure that we get it done before I have to zoom away. woodland protectors here still getting their javelins into my sword masters, but it's just a charge there. Just interrupt them. They're getting interrupted by the high mass arrows there. Great help from Gil-galad again. Amazing having their Greenwood Rangers tearing through us. I think they're tearing through the... I can't remember what they were firing into. It might be the sword masters. I was very upset about that, but their armor and their shield is hopefully going to help them out. Left side, once again, shield is coming into effect. But as I say, it's looking for a lot of advice about how this could have been better. How you maybe would have done one of these battles, because I really enjoyed it. One of the things we thought was, instead of one army being entirely cavalry, it would be good if it was maybe just half cavalry or something of that nature. Half cavalry and half mixed, or half cavalry, half infantry. But that's something that maybe, because a lot of people would easily be able to control a mass amount of cavalry, but there was a lot of cav, you know. And then the same with maybe archers. Should archers be allowed, you know, archer armies, should they be allowed to get some spears so they can watch out for themselves? Or should they only, as I say, only be able to use archers and missile units? And in addition to that, would it be nice to try and do this with, you know, as I say, a full army of Arthedain or a full army of Gondor? Well, imagine trying to do, you know, a cavalry portion of a Gondor army, though. That wouldn't be too enjoyable. Money as well, we stuck with 10k. Do you think more of that would be beneficial, or less? I think I wouldn't like to go any more than 10k myself. I think if you're going more than 10k, I think it would start to get a little bit silly. And then in addition, finally, maps. I need some advice on maps. So those are my main questions that I really would appreciate some advice on. But apart from that, yeah, I really enjoyed this, as I've said a few times now. It will definitely cause people to go certain armies, I'd say. You know, like, of course you think, oh, I'm gonna be an archer focused army, Lothlorien. But I would have liked to have seen how an archer focused Cardinal could have gone, you know, or an archer focused Gondor. Yeah, an archer focused Gondor could have gone pretty well too, you know, and because it would have changed the way that you're using the archers. You know, when we thought of archer focused, both of our boys went wood elves, who lack a lot of armor on their archers. So we'll see. I don't have a scroll wheel there. Fire some sword masters there. Yeah, it's very interesting to see. Poor shield guard there. They didn't get into. They barely got into the fight. I think they took one charge and they were able to like stab some guys from it. But that was the only. I sent them forward right at the end because, as I say, their job was to protect the archers. That's why they didn't really get involved. And of course, my right flank boys, they did get involved later on. They did stab some goblins, but yep, they were just there to take fire and watch out for cav. Belgar pikes, they're very nice. I only had one unit of pikes. Interesting. I would usually get two, but I just couldn't afford them. Sentinels there, shield guard, nice. And as I say, I was a very expensive army, so I had a very easy time. Spending 10k. I would have been very interested to see how Narcissus spent his 10k. Like, I mean, we saw the units there, but still, I don't know the costs off the top of my head for all of those guys, even though Misty is one of my more preferred units. As for just a general rundown, it's very cool to see that the infantries were what got most of the kills, but that wasn't the same on their side. Their side, it was the but it was the infantry there that actually got the most kills. Apart from that, it was the archer. So yeah, Gil-galad had a lot of ammunition to spend, and I think Eomer was very good at countering him. I think Eomer played very, very well today. But because of as we said, because of the deployment of his allies and his army as a whole, he was able to do that. Whereas we didn't really support Gil-galad in that same way. I think Gil-galad's archers were kind of just like left to do as they pleased, whereas Eomer's archers were supported a lot better. And allowed to do a lot more damage. But yeah, no, so a lot of fun. I'll probably do a rundown, yeah, as I say. Angmar there, yeah, great. Thank you for taking the beating for me and then charging on in. Very, very appreciated there, and I'm very grateful for that. Son of, oh yeah, that was Son of Gimli, sorry. Ellipsis there, yeah, went AFK at an inopportune time, but you know, this can't be helped. It's just, you know, sometimes when you gotta dip out, you gotta dip out. This was a much longer battle than, you know, he joined a 4v4 expecting it to, you know, be a normal length 4v4, ended up being 27,000 frames. So, you know, I don't blame a guy. You know, if you join a siege and then you're like, oh shoot, I've got to go get my dinner, it's like, what do you do? What do you think was gonna happen here? You know, but yeah, you know, this wasn't, you know, of course you knew it was gonna take about an hour, but yeah, Narcissus there, yeah, freaking 4,000 massive army. You know, that's more boys than I bring to sieges with Misty, but he had infantry, you know, and it was just heavy. I'm interested to see that, you know, we didn't see as many trolls, but maybe he didn't view trolls as infantry, but I would personally I would have brought trolls, but son of Gimli didn't take any trolls either, really. So yeah, I know he had troll drummers, but you know, is what it is. Narcissus had troll drummers even. Duran there, I think, yeah, very aggressive plays with his cav. A Rohan versus Khand fight is a tough place to be in with your cavalry, because you know that the enemy's probably going to win those cav fights. But, you know, it's kind of just being aggressive. And, I mean, yeah, I got no major complaints. It was a cool move on our side, and it did come out quite nicely for him. Talked about Elamau, yeah, good show throughout, and then yeah, Corrigan was, as they elected Corrigan as their team leader, so I think he was having a bit of time just trying to order everybody about, which is not a position I would very much want. But yeah, I don't think 4 guys need a leader per se. I think 4 guys can generally just plan things out between them, you know, between each other, but still, it helps. And watching the back lines definitely stumped Ellipsis a few times, was definitely tough to deal with, and his pikes could have done a lot more damage, but as I say, they were just we were able to shoot them to pieces because they were so focused on the back. So I would say for sure, I'd love to do this. I think if you do this, it's when it comes to your 2 infantry armies, it is good to do, you know, what Son and I did. You know, I was the more elite component of infantry, whereas he was the more numbers component. Now, that's not to say don't take your elite units, but that's just to say I think you should take an army that can be very, very elite. And as much as I love Rhudaur, maybe if they had gone for a dwarf, Lord forbid, if they had gone for Khazad-dûm, this could have, you know, we could have had a very different story here. But yeah, it's hard to say. Anyway, thanks for barreling through this, guys. Let me know if you're really interested in being part of one of these battles. I'd love to try to organize one, I think. But I think that's something that can kind of be done on the fly. I'll just yell at some people in the Discord and say, hey, do you want to try something out? So yep, see you guys. Thank you very much.